All right, there we go. We're live, everybody. Going live everywhere else. It's Friday. We got Anthony in the building back today, doing some work finally. Thank you, Anthony, for doing something today. We're rocking and rolling over here. Most of these topics going to be brought to you by you, bro. You're the one who came up with a lot of these topics today. Appreciate all of your hard work making it happen. A good week over here. You were in the field, right? A lot of time for you in the field. Good to have you back in the office. Makes these shows a lot easier, everybody. If you're not familiar, Anthony's the one who handles it all behind the scenes. And looking forward to this one. So let's get this slow day in news started off. Now, I want everyone to full disclosure about today's show. We were looking for some great, juicy things that we could, talk about on today's Friday episode going into the weekend. And the news was slow. I say the news was slow this week. So you get me spicing it up with my best Maverick look that I can come up with in light of Top Gun 3 coming out soon. And not soon enough, but I'm going for my mixture between Maverick, Top Gun, and Dutton Ranch, which we're going to be talking about here, the spinoff of Yellowstone, in just a couple of minutes. But, Anthony, we got to lead off today's show with the news of the day, which seems to be Russell Brand. Everybody, if you have not heard, Russell Brand is in the headlines today. Most of you may know him from comedy, movies, or just bringing some kind of personality that's been there over the years. He's built his name in the UK. He broke into Hollywood. And more recently, he's shifted over to political commentary. But his situation now is much different. He is currently facing a criminal trial in London with multiple charges, including rape and sexual assault involving 4 women. The allegations going back to the late 90s. He pleaded not guilty across the board. But this week, this is why he is making the news. He joined Megyn Kelly on her show, and he admitted that when he was 30, he had sex with a 16-year-old. Now, legally in the UK, 16 is an age of consent. So he makes the point, but this also calls let me back up. But then he also calls the situation explorative. I can't believe this. I can't believe I'm reading this. Let me back up here. He had sex with a 16-year-old. This guy had sex with a 16-year-old and has the nerve to get onto a show and say that it's explorative and admits his behavior at the time was selfish. That's his line. And that's where I'm reading these headlines here. It gets complicated. No, there's nothing complicated about this. Okay. I'm not even going to read the rest of the story on this one. Okay, folks, there's nothing complicated about this story at all. This guy gets onto a national show with Megyn Kelly, political commentary, and he admits that when he was 30 years old, he had sex with a 16-year-old. And he's saying that, you know what, it was selfish at the time, but he was, I guess he was exploring. So, and it's technically legal in the UK to have sex with a 16-year-old. That would be the age of consent. Here's my response to everybody, all right? Just because something is legal doesn't make that right. And just because something is not legal doesn't make it not wrong. So what I'm trying to say here is that in any world that you are living in, if you are a sane person that has some common sense, you would say that this is disgusting, all right? And we cannot allow behavior like this, Anthony, to slide into culture and go unchecked. This is an individual that has obviously a lot of problems. He's got rape allegations against him, sexual assault allegations against him. Now he's admitting that he had sex with a 16-year-old when he was 30 years old, and he's got the nerve out there to go, it was explorative. So, hey, you know what? I was a little bit selfish. What world is this guy living in? It's not the one that I want to live in. And as a society, I think it's just so important that we get a hold of this and say, no. It's not acceptable. It's never been acceptable. I don't want it to ever be acceptable. No. You have these sickos that are in the world, and this guy is one of them. Just because you're famous doesn't mean you're not a sick son of a, bit. So we as society, and this is my role here, and what we try to do here is bring light to these stories that somehow may get pushed under the rug because somebody is a movie star or a comedian. There's nothing funny about this, though. This, to me, Anthony, is one of those stories where we can't let something slide into our, how would I put it, into our daily conversation and act like something like this is okay in any way whatsoever. Just because, you know what, Russell Brand's got a nice wit about him. His show was entertaining. I think a lot of people got turned on to him during the pandemic when he was doing a lot of stuff there. And some of his political commentary tends to be pretty good. I'm not doubting any of that. But when I look at an individual like this, I will never be able to look at that person the same. It's rape, everybody. I don't care how you want to look at it, which way you want to slice it. I live in America where that is rape. And not only that, it's sick. All right. Like if you're 30 years old trying to sleep with a 16-year-old, what are you doing, bro? I mean, let's not try to make excuses for this. Let's not try to look for the silver lining. You know, yesterday, Anthony, we talked about the firing squad coming back in Idaho for people that, or the death penalty for people that sexually assault children under the age of 12. And I'm not saying this person was under the age of 12. They're saying she was 16. But what I am saying is that when I see back-to-back stories like this in the news, what I think about is we have to protect children in this country. All right. Children are not going to protect themselves. That's why we have adults. It's why we have parents. It's why we have guardians. It's why we have rules and laws in this country and why we, like, this is what it's for. We want to protect the best of us, which are the most innocent of us, which are children. And someone who is famous or somebody that like this is not an excuse to go out there and do sick things. What do you think about that one, buddy?
It's just sad too. You can just tell that, like, he's definitely just using his like power of like, oh, I'm a movie star, just kind of get.
Yeah. Talk about a detachment from reality. I can't imagine going on to a national show and saying, oh, you know what? This is what I did. Like, okay, well, it was explorative and, you know, I kind of regret that I was selfish at that time. That's your reaction. Like, that's your go-to emotion when you see that. You got to be screwed up in the head if that's the case. I mean, there are just some things that are just always wrong. There is no other way to look at it, in my opinion. And me and you work together, and I'd like to think that I can usually see both sides of a story. An employee comes in here, we have a disagreement. I can at least see where they're coming from, and we can come to something that's some kind of, I don't know, a meet in the middle type of situation. And I think it's one of the things you have to do as a leader or as an entrepreneur is you have to be able to see both sides and empathize with people. I don't empathize or understand this emotion at all, like not even a little bit. And nor do I ever want to be somebody who ever understands that, Anthony. This just frustrates the hell out of me, man. It really does. I look at these situations and I think to myself, hold on one second. We got a good one of our clients calling in right now. Here we go. Matt, how you doing? Man, I'm doing a live show right now, so just kind of, I'm doing one of my shows right now. I don't have you on speaker or anything like that. I just paused it for a second.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I'll keep it quick. Sorry about that. I got so damn excited. I just said, hey, we're going to hire these people. I told everybody about it. So I paid the invoice this morning.
I saw it come through, man. I was on a call when you sent it in, and then I switched over and I saw that you had paid it, and I called you right back. But Chelsea's going to send you this afternoon the times for the onboarding, and we'll get you onboarded, and that's going to be the beginning of the process because I want to get to know the company. And I encourage you, not just you, but anybody else you want involved in the company to be a part of the process. Get them involved, brother. And we can that way. The more people from my team and me and you. That's going to make it a better, collaboration so that we can understand the brand and what you want to accomplish.
Okay. All right.
I'm excited to work with you, man.
Yeah, me too, man. Sounds good.
All right, brother. Well, then you'll get that from Chelsea, and then I can't wait to work with you.
All right. Sounds good, bud.
All right, brother. You got it, man. Bye. Great guy. Just a great guy running a great HVAC company out there. So there you go, everybody. We're live, but I run a blue collar media group. If you didn't know, we do media and video production, marketing for contractors. That guy, Matt, right there, runs a great HVAC company, and excited to be able to work with him here in the near future. He said, Anthony, he's like, man, I got so excited about working with you. He goes, I told all my team what we're doing, and then I just never signed the contract and sent you the money. I'm like, well, awesome, man. Well, now we're good to go, and we'll be able to knock it out of the park for him. So this story right here, a disappointing one. And one that we just have to bring to the table because I want to say this. I will never support Russell Brand in anything that he does moving forward the rest of my life. I have the same philosophy when it comes to athletes or entertainers. When you do something like this, I will never support you. I don't care how talented you are, you're a sicko. I do not separate the two. I don't say, well, you know what? He's a real talent on the field or behind the mic, and therefore I'm going to support this individual and really back them up. No, I have morals and values, and I draw the line somewhere. And that line is when you start to rape children. All right. I think that's a pretty clear line for everybody. All right. And then not only that, and you're not even you're like, you know what? It is what it is. I was selfish at the time. No, you're sick. You're not selfish. Wrong S word there, everybody. You're a sicko. This is mind-numbing to me how people can just scroll past that and ever support an individual like this again. This show definitely won't. Me and Anthony definitely won't. You're a sicko. Never going to support the guy ever again. I think we nailed that one, bro. Heck with that guy. Can't believe this crap sometimes, I'll tell you. All right, let's move on to our next story here. Next story is one near and dear to me. All right, everybody, you know I'm following this one. My favorite show of all time is Yellowstone. And there is a spinoff that is going to be debuting on May the 15th. And the show Dutton Ranch has got some drama going on right now, Anthony. Dutton Ranch is the Yellowstone spinoff. Everyone, including me, has been waiting for, like I said, the premiere is May the 15th with big expectations. They got big names. The franchise is on the line. 3 weeks before the premiere, the showrunner, everybody, that's Chad Feehan, that is out, all right? Reports are saying that clashes with key cast members, especially those who have been part of the Yellowstone franchise for a long time, led to him being outed. Taylor Sheridan, who built the entire Yellowstone universe, and the producers weren't happy with how things were being ran. And now, let's take a look at what happens next. Season 1, everybody's confident it's going to be just fine. That's coming out May the 15th. Season 2, Feehan's not going to be a part of it. All right, so I got to think at that time, what happens? I got to think Taylor Sheridan steps back into the writing role to keep this thing going because he's got too much on the line with everything with his Yellowstone franchise to just leave it in somebody else's hands. I'm very interested to see, though, how this season turns out with the writing now because you know that the writer's not coming back. So if the writer's not coming back and you love it, you're going to be sitting there going, oh, boy, damn, this was great, and I'm not going to get this again. But if you're like, all right, you may be willing to give it a chance again because you know that Feehan's gone and it's going to be a completely different writer in season 2. And undoubtedly, Dutton Ranch is going to get a season 2. All right? Like, there are a certain combination of shows right now that are going to work. Like, you basically put someone in the West like, what was it, Landman with Billy Bob Thornton. You have Yellowstone. You got this one right here. You put some horses, cowboys, you put some country music together, and America is starving for that right now. It's why they're coming out with Top Gun 3, because everybody wants to see America. Yeah, that's what people want to see. They want to see people out there in the Wild West that are making things happen, men being men, drinking beer, getting in bar fights, and solving problems. If we can do that, the show is going to be successful. And I have no doubt that Dutton Ranch is going to bring the drama. It's going to bring a lot of great stuff that you saw with Yellowstone. You got Rip and everyone coming back. So even though you don't get Kevin Costner in that amazing Yellowstone role, I mean, season 5 of Yellowstone was still amazing even without him. So no doubt what they can do with Taylor Sheridan and his crew with this Dutton Ranch show, regardless of what's happening here with old Chad Feehan.
Yeah. Probably some people are going to be like, oh, he's just a writer. Who cares what's going to change? But, like, working in media, you see, like, the writer strikes. And then, like, when the writer strikes goes on for, like, a couple years, you see, like, shows like Lost, like, the end of season, like, the writer strike happened. And so then that show, the last couple seasons, just, I haven't seen it, but I heard it just doesn't make any sense. It made all these, like, weird things going on.
Agreed.
Because of the writer strike, because the writers aren't there. So it's a big deal when a writer leaves and stuff like that.
It is. I think, when you're talking about a writer for a show, you're talking about the person that is literally scripting this thing out for people. He's building the characters. And don't get me wrong, today, there's AI and there's groups of people that do it. It's not just one person that does this. But if you need to know how important it is, just look at Taylor Sheraton and what he's been able to create as a writer. We went through the list earlier. What was the list of some of the Taylor Sheraton shows that we had? Like if you need any more proof that being a writer is important, just go look at what Taylor Sheraton has created. Landman, 18 Yellowstone, 1843, 1883, 1923, right?
Yeah, 1923.
What was the other one that's not a Western?
Mayor of Kingstown.
Mayor of Kingstown, decent. Tulsa King, that's awesome.
Oh, Sons of Anarchy too.
The guy wrote Sons of, come on, man. And then there's one other one that we mentioned on there for Taylor Sheraton. But yeah, all these shows were him. And now Dutton Ranch, he's a part of, although he's not the lead writer. And so when I think that, I think to myself, something must have gone down. It also kind of makes me worry a little bit, Anthony. Are they setting up for the season to suck? Like, in other words, is Taylor Sheraton hedging his bet right now because he knows that the show's not very good, and you got to make a change now to tell, hey, listen, we got rid of the writer.
Yeah, like we knew it was gonna suck, but wait till season 2 because we.
Yeah, right. Are you hedging your bet? Like, are you basically, did someone sit down and finally watch all, let's say it's 10 episodes, and then they kind of looked at each other and went, this ain't very good. I worry about that. Because if that is the case where that happened, then it would seem to me that they would go ahead and hedge their bet right now. That would seem to me to be what they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
That scares me. That really scares me. I'm going to tell you it does. Because I want this show to be successful so badly. Because I love the characters, right? For me, it sucks if that's going to be the case right now. But yeah, so the lead writer out over there at Dutton Ranch. Well, I'm waiting, everybody. 3 weeks till this thing comes out, and I cannot wait right now. Let's shift over to the NFL draft. Everybody's talking about it, but at least we're going to talk about the NFL. Folks, Kansas City Chiefs defensive back coach Dave Merritt was arrested this week on domestic battery charges. He's 54, and according to reports, the allegation involves harm to his daughter. He's already entered a plea of not guilty. He's posted bond, and he is out of jail. A court date has been set for June. The Chiefs have acknowledged the charge, but they didn't go deeper than that. Right now, there's not a lot of details revolving the case, only that he has pled not guilty and that he's out. Here's what I think is going to be interesting. This is when I see cases like this, it's what the NFL does, in my opinion, that makes all the difference. Now, for those of you who are not aware, the NFL has a personal conduct policy. And if you've not seen how that plays out in the past, it can play out a lot deeper than even the criminal investigation can go. And the process can take on a life of its own. It can last for seemingly months or years, is what it seems like. Merritt's been around a long time. He's won 5 Super Bowls. He's a big name in the industry. And so when I think about that, I think, okay, is the NFL going to try to make an example out of this guy, or is this going to be something that's swept under the rug? The personal conduct policy now is once again going to come under a microscope. And so when I think about this story, Anthony, I'm thinking about this personal conduct policy. Every company in America or large company has a conduct policy. We have one here. Like, for instance, Florida's an at-will employment state, but if somebody is arrested here, I don't have to wait for there to be a conviction for me to make a choice on what I do with that individual as the owner of this company. The NFL basically says a lot of the same stuff. Hey, listen, just because you don't get a guilty verdict doesn't mean we as the NFL can't open our own investigation, levy our own charges and decision against you. And the NFL, well, I mean, they're going to make their decision not based on what the law is, but they can decide themselves if you're guilty or you deserve some kind of punishment there too. Yeah, what's up? I'm just live right now. So yeah, what's up? What do you got? Oh, good.
Everything is good too. Sorry.
You're good. All right. Work never stops around here. So I look at this and I think about this personal conduct policy. I think that it's good that businesses have this. And then, you know what? This goes back to the story that we had originally with what's his name? Russell Brand, where just because somebody is not guilty, all right, doesn't mean that it's right what they did. And so I think what the personal conduct policy from the NFL attempts to do is to say, you know what, the law may say that you're okay, but the conduct and what you did, we don't agree with, and it's not to our standard. And I have no problem with that at all. And a business should be allowed to do that as a private company. They can determine what conduct they find to be acceptable. What I would say to the NFL is when you have owners that are going to get sexually explicit things done inside of massage halls, and when you have players that have hit and abused women on camera, I think to myself, where's your standard if you're the NFL? And I don't think there's really a high one that's been set. And unfortunately, I think this goes back to this Russell Brand story in a way that as fans, the NFL oftentimes will turn an eye or turn a cheek, whatever you want to say, turn a kind of a blind eye to what some players do off the field because they're talented. This is a talented coach. I don't know what happened here. I can't pretend to know. There's not any evidence for it, and this person should be perceived innocent, in my opinion, until guilty, until there's more evidence. But what I can say is that I agree with the policy of the NFL that they take this seriously and that they have their own internal way of looking at this. It's not just about the law. It's about a higher standard for this individual private company. No problem with that. Next story that we got, everybody, we're going to stay in the NFL here. Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini are back in the news. When did we cover this? About a month ago?
Feels like it. Maybe a couple weeks ago now?
Okay, so a few weeks ago. All right. Photos came out early this month. We're just saying right there that Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini were seen at a resort together in Arizona. First, they both denied that there was ever a relationship, both of them being married. But then more photos have came down, everybody. We got pictures from 2020. We've got pictures as recently as 2024, and they are getting it on in a casino, all right? So now it's not just a one-time thing. We've got a pattern, and I smile about this a little bit, everybody, because sometimes I think people take sports a little too seriously. Rossini already has resigned from The Athletic, saying she doesn't want to fuel a media frenzy. Meanwhile, her past reporting is now under review. We'll talk about that in a second. Vrabel addressed it, saying he's having difficult conversations with his family and his team. He's announced that he's stepping away briefly to seek some counseling. The Patriots publicly have supported that decision for him to seek some counseling. NFL says they're not investigating, which makes sense. Got it. This is just, in my opinion, so much hypocrisy and a little bit over the top. Folks, the woman covers sports. She's not covering what's going on in the war in Iran, okay? She's covering what's going on for The Athletic. I don't know, even if her sports opinion is slightly skewed, all right, so you want to tell me somebody out there that doesn't have a sports opinion that's not skewed in some way? Maybe they're a fan of the team. Maybe they know a player personally. And what? She was having an affair with the guy. Terrible on a personal level. On a professional level, all right. Like, are we really, we're holding now our reporters for the sports teams that we love to a standard of if you have an affair, all of a sudden you have to be out on your ass. I don't want you to be a part of the team anymore. Let's watch it, the pot calling the kettle black, everybody. Okay. Yes. Was it screwed up what they did? Yeah. They both cheated on their individual significant others with they're both married. So not a good look for them. The conversation on this one stays between the husband and the wife. That's who they have to have their conversation with and their kids. Their job, this whole Vrabel thing, stepping away to seek some counseling. Okay, buddy, you messed up. You screwed up. Get back in there with your team. Deal with it with your personal life that you have to deal with and get back to the job. This is a nothing burger to me. All right. I know it's making big news because it's the NFL draft right now and people are talking a lot about the NFL. I just think that we're trying to hold our athletes a little bit to too much of a high standard right here. I think that it's a very interesting one, but they made a personal mistake. That's between them, their God, their wife, and their husband. It has nothing to do, in my opinion, with sports at all. I don't know.
The only reason why these topics are in the news right now is because it's the worst 3 weeks of sports.
Oh, God, don't get me started. You're absolutely right. And for anybody who wants to know why it is a slow news day, well, just look at what's going on this weekend in sports. Nothing's going on this weekend. You get more of the same crap NBA in the first round or whatever, and then you get crap stuff with the NHL, and you got nothing else till next weekend with the Kentucky Derby. I know people keep telling me they disagree with me, but it has absolutely been the last couple of weeks the worst time that there is in sports, and it will continue this way over the weekend. Just go try to find something that's interesting to watch. Go to a sports bar. It's just going to be absolute crap. And the only people that disagree are the 2 million people in the entire world who decide they're going to watch the Stanley Cup Finals, which is less people than are going to watch The Bachelorette. All right. So still a completely useless time in sports, which now we're talking about Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini again. There you go, everybody. If you need any more evidence about the worst 3 weeks in sports, what we're talking about today proves it. I'll tell you what. I can't believe people disagree with me on this one. It's just, but we get the, like I said, we get the Kentucky Derby next week, and then we're back in it. All right. Then things start to matter again. We got NBA playoffs that actually matter. NHL will never matter because nobody cares about the NHL. All the NHL fans will get their panties in a wad about that. Stop. I get that you're a fan. Okay, cool. You're a fan. Most people are not. No one watches the NHL. No one. We looked up the numbers. I think it was something like 2.5 million people will watch the Stanley Cup Finals. It's nothing. Like there are more people that are going to watch like ABC Nightly News that are going to watch the Stanley Cup Finals by a multiple factor. Beyond me, how people continue to defend this like, hey, it matters. No, it matters to you. That's cool, man. It matters to you. But it doesn't matter to the general public, which makes my point even more true. The worst time in sports in this weekend is the example of why I'm right. Just got to say that, man. This next story is a really serious one, though, Anthony. I wanted to end with this one because I believe that this is something that people need to be looking at, caring about, because it could affect everybody across the country. It's a big one. Greg Abbott signed a law requiring the 10 Commandments to be displayed in every public school classroom in Texas. Immediately, there were lawsuits that followed, okay? Civil liberties groups said it violated a separation of church and state. A federal judge blocked it. Now, this week, a federal appeals court reverses that decision in a close 9-8 ruling. So, everybody, it's back on. Supporters, including Ken Paxton, are calling it a win for moral values. Opponents say it's government overreach into religion, and that's why it is making news today. But that's not the only reason. We have multiple states passing similar laws right now and dozens more that are considering it. Groups like the American Civil Liberties Union are saying that it is headed to the Supreme Court. And so the question becomes, can government put religious doctrine inside of public school classrooms? That is what we're talking about here to end the show today. I have to admit, Anthony, I am torn on this one. This is one of those deals where how would I put this? You have to be careful what you support just because it's good for you in the moment. All right. Like if I'm sitting here and I love the fact that the 10 Commandments are going to be in every classroom in Texas. I hope it gets passed for every state. I love that. Okay. It should be there. I want it to be there. But if I'm going to say that that is legal, then where does it stop? Should every religion or a major religion in the United States allowed to have its book or its commandments posted next to it? Or do we have some classrooms in states that only have the Quran while others have the Bible? If you're going to say that it's okay for the commandments, you have to be willing to say it's okay for other things as well. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't just sit there and say it's only good if it's my way or something that I like. And this is where, for me, it's very dangerous here. Separation of church and state is a real thing for a reason, everybody. And it's because when you start going down this slippery slope, where does it stop? And if it works for us right now, like I love this right now, great. But then a year from now, when somebody petitions and says, I want such and such verse from the Quran to be in every public school in Florida, it's going to be very difficult for me to oppose that when I supported this. You have to, you can't just like a law when the law benefits you. You have to act. That's the reason we have laws in this country, is because it sets a standard and then you can't go over that whether you agree with it or not. Here, I love it. I love what they're doing, but I'm leaning towards not supporting it because I understand the door that it opens in the future and what that could mean for other religions to find their, find their foothold, if you will, inside of our public schools. I think that it's very important that we keep religion and government separated. And this to me seems like we have crossed that line, which worries me. Support it, love it, and I can also look at what the bigger picture is.
Yeah, I agree definitely. Like I love that it's going in there, but then like if you're like let's say a Jewish kid and you
Good point.
It's like I don't like you don't want to see too much of that because you just want to see more history and more stuff that's not really Christian related. That's just more general like knowledge. It's a little tricky. It's like
Well, so let's take that example. Let's use that one, the Jewish thing, because if you were Jewish, you'd be about the 10 Commandments, I think. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's take a look at that. I think what it may open the door for is if you allow the 10 Commandments, what if you said then we're going to allow maybe a crucifixion depiction in every classroom because we want to represent the New Testament of the Bible? Okay, cool. Would I have a problem with that? No, I wouldn't. But if we do that, then where's that next step, right? Okay, now, do we have to depict something that happened to Muhammad? Well, okay, then do we have certain schools that decide that they only want one or the other, or certain states? And what does that mean for that state and the kids within it? I really struggle with this one because I love the law right now, and I think that people are trying to pass it to be, great, God, fire, and brimstone. But you have to be very careful with these situations. And I always want to be consistent in what I support and the reason I support it. And although it might be something that I like, I want to be able to look back on this in a year when me and you were talking and been like, hold on, no. I'm not saying this is right. I might have liked it, but this is not the right move to make because of the door that it opens and the slippery slope that it can go down. And undoubtedly, if this gets upheld by the Supreme Court and they say that this is allowed, then it's going to be very, very difficult to say that other religions and maybe what guides them, their commandments, are not allowed inside of a public classroom, maybe a public university, right? You're going to be very tough. It's not going to be a lot of foundation for you to stand on that argument once that happens. And it's going to be a slippery slope for the Supreme Court too. We have a very conservative Supreme Court. I don't think they're going to uphold this. I think they will realize by a slim margin that this is not something we don't want to go down this route. Again, hope they do, or I'm saying hope they don't, but I believe that the Supreme Court will overturn this and remove these 10 Commandments from the classroom.
So I'm looking at it now.
What do you got?
It's required, right? For like every
Required. Does it say classroom or does it say in the school?
Requires public school classroom to display a 16 by 20 poster of the 10 Commandments.
Okay, so I mean that's 16. I mean, so talking about like that. I mean, that's not okay. Like one of our things on the walls over here. I mean, every classroom. Yeah, folks, sounds good now, but what comes next? And if you're going to fight that legal battle for yourself now, be ready to have that same argument for something that you disagree with. So anyways, we got a lot happening. Well, here on this show, not a lot happening right now in the news. All right. To me, the two biggest stories, Anthony, have got to be this one we just talked about with these 10 Commandments, the fact that it was upheld in a 9-8 ruling. I'm a little surprised by that. I think it shows that we're having we talked about it earlier this week, right? What was it? Gen Z men are claiming that they are very religious at the highest rates of all time. We said it was 42%, I want to say. 42% of Gen Z men between the ages of 18 and 29 claim that they are, quote, very religious at this point. And I think this is an example of that right now. You're seeing a resurgence of religion in this country. And you could say, in my opinion, you can make the argument that because of AI, because of so many people lacking purpose in their life, because of our lives becoming so easy, that a lot of people lack purpose in their life. And therefore, they're searching for something that will give them something to feel good and whole and meaningful about. And I think that a lot more men are turning to religion to find that thing that challenges them and forces them to step up and want to be more. Because if nothing else, I believe that's what religion will do. Religion will find a way to have you examine the weakest parts of yourself expose them, and then you basically have to make a decision with yourself whether you're going to do anything about that. Sometimes I think that's what religion does better than anything. You can walk into a church or hear a sermon. Me and you could hear the exact same thing. You'll hear it a completely different way because you'll apply it to the things that are happening in your mind and in your heart. And I'll apply it to mine. And we'll apply it to the things that are weakest about us. And religion has a way of like shining a light on that internally. And then you're like, yeah, I do have that problem. I do have that addiction. Okay, I could apply the word of God to that. And in doing so, undoubtedly makes us better people just by the process of internally looking at within ourselves and making the choice to be better in the face of God. Whether you believe that, the died on the cross or the Son of God or whatever you believe. I mean, just being introspective enough to look at yourself will undoubtedly give you a better result in the end. We'll go into that one with the weekend, or go weekend with that one, everybody. Take some time, look at yourself, see what your weaknesses are. Hopefully you improve them over the week. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday. We got everybody in the office, so we'll be back here. All right, we'll be back on Monday here with the Patrick Carr Show. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Got some work to do. There's that. We'll go over here to Instagram. We'll end that one.
Curious, how was TikTok?
What's that?
How was the views on TikTok for that one?